What's up, everybody? It's Jason24CF for EventHubs.com here with a legend in the FGC. He's out on the East Coast here in Brooklyn in my neighborhood for Spring Fighter 2014. Mr. Alex Valle, sir. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great, man. I'm happy to be here in the East Coast. It's been quite a long time since I've been in this town, man.
I think the last time you was, well, just in the East Coast in general, was NEC or something like that?
Yeah, it was actually CEO was the last. I mean, some people might not consider it East Coast, but even before then, yeah, I went to NEC, and before that, Final Round. So I just saw like the modern East Coast events. I just needed to see, and man, it's progressed a lot. I love it. I love it.
Now, with you again being an OG, everybody could go. They could YouTube videos of you, and you're like clean face and all. We're talking like almost 20 years now battling against Daigo, right?
Yeah, well, almost. It's the first time I fought Daigo, it was 98. But yeah, we're reaching it. I know we're here in 2014. But like you guys gotta understand, I'm in my 30s. I was 19 then, so yeah, I was a little pup then. So, but yeah, I mean, different mindset back then, and there's still a lot of talk about like what I've learned since then.
And now with how, being the fact that you've been there towards the beginning, how have you seen the FGC change in a way? Do you see it as it's a progressive movement, things are going to get better and such? Because the recent talk, like late last year, with a lot of sponsors pulling out, I Play winner, I believe it was, that didn't quite pan out with this stuff. How do you see the FGC at the current state?
It's a much better state now. I think it's just there's no real structure is the best way I can put it. And when you put that word around, everybody thinks it's corporate or it has to have all these rules. Well, sure it does. It has to have rules because otherwise it's going to be chaos, right? And Capcom Pro Tours event is a step in the right direction for some kind of a structure, some kind of a league. We've never had that before. And it's not just them, they're involving the grassroots events. So it's cleaning up a lot of our acts from like even our locals up to the major events and seeing how every event is portrayed from here and then. So back then we had none of that. We had none of that. So it's just like us playing, grassroots, arcades. Nobody knew us. We just word of mouth. But yeah, it definitely progressed for the better.
And I've seen it. I've been in the FGC, I would say, about 4 years now. And I definitely love the community, but I understand where, there needs to be some rules and structure if you want to see some growth. Because it seems like when we make those strides, something happens that like kind of brings us back. And then I know nobody wants to go esports, but I say if some players really want this, esports might be a good path. Do you agree with that in a sense? Yeah,
and I've said this before. I mean, you take just the word esports, okay? We understand you don't like the word esports, don't like what it stands for, but you got to reevaluate what you think it stands for and what everybody else thinks it means, right? If you want to see better production, you want to see a competitive rule set, you want to see big cash bonuses, you want to see people getting flown out, sponsors here, that's what esports is doing, yeah, but it's working in a different way with the other games. It's not, I mean, we all kind of looked at it funny when they first started to incorporate some fighting games because it wasn't grassroots, it wasn't real, it wasn't like too many commercials. But we didn't have a Spooky or us to stream it back then. They, esports has been doing this way before we have, as far as putting it in the production level. All right, and so we are learning how to make it a presentable product for sponsors to like, hey, you know what? This is something that we can get into, And of course, we have our growing pains in doing this. Who's a better producer? Who does better events? At the end of the day, we all want all of our events to progress, and that's pretty much what esports is. It's making a product, right? Making a complete product in order to be enticing for investors, right? Or the casual audience to understand, right? Yeah, because we can speak our lingo all day long, bodied and all this stuff, but it's going to reach a point where a casual audience or mom and dad's be like, what does this mean? We really have to set the bar like what is it going to take it to the next level? And that's what people got to think about.
And you mentioned something during that. You said the level of production. And I believe it was last year, one of your events, you kind of got into like a great big production. You had Gutex doing interviews like in between matches, and when I saw that, I was blown away. I was like, wow, that's a great step to progress it and kind of more showcase more of the players, you know, because you know, outside of I guess myself or someone else doing interviews, it's really hard for player stories to really get out there. I mean, you know, when you went through with that plan, were you nervous about the reception you were going to get when you did that?
I would like to say that we're pretty much the guinea pigs of FGC production. We are. I mean, we got the equipment for a reason, to use it, right? And one of our models is innovation. So back in the days when we only had one stream, and then we put I think when we worked with Revelations, we were the first ones to bring 2 streams in the tournament, you know, and then bringing like commentators with like expensive headsets and then a flow, and then everybody else kind of caught on the same thing, which is great. I mean, who cares if people are copying it as long as it's getting better, right? It's getting better. You're making a better product. Now, I always love to innovate SCR, a new thing every year, right? And then I wanted to bring the experience of the esports productions that we worked on. We worked on some Dota projects, you know, and some trade show products, and we understand how running of show works, having a stage director, which is myself, and coordinating with hosts, coordinating with the tournament, or well, I would say it's myself again, but the bracket runners, make sure that everything runs in clockwork and fluidity. And when you have that type of product and it's shown to the public, like, they don't know how much vehicles are moving in there, but when they actually see it and like live, and they're like, wow, this actually looks like a TV production. Well, eventually we all need to get there. If you guys want investors to look at this and say, you know what, Coca-Cola is knocking on your door because this is something that they want to sell worldwide. This is not this, you know, Street Fighter is worldwide. You know, video games, competitive games is worldwide, and that's what we got. That's who we have to promote to.
I mean, those are amazing points, and hopefully it would reach that point because, you know, I mean, then it would help me out as well, you know, because I do want to go to one of the events next year because because again, I love the production and like, wow, and seeing it, I was like, I was really enjoying it, you know, the in-cut scenes, and I mean, that worked very well. Now with the fighting game aspect side of it, you being so long, you know, when I was playing on the stream, you were giving me, you know, words of encouragement. You kind of saw I was nervous. I mean, I go to the tournaments, I just go to have a good time. I don't answer. They say, hey, go ahead and answer. What would be your advice to say for someone who's entering a tournament and it's their first time, or they're scared? What would you tell them to say to get them over that hump so they could continue on?
You're coming in with a character that you know well, right? You have a game plan with that character. Stick to it, right? If it doesn't work, take a breather. You know, take a breather and think about it. Don't really stress on the fact that the guy is overwhelming you or you made a stupid mistake. Focus on what is it going to take to beat them. Okay? When you focus on like, oh, that should have worked. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try this or I'm going to try that. Versus, oh, no, he knows that. I can't do that. Oh, he knows this. I can't do that. Stop thinking of the negatives. Think about the things that makes you happy, hungry, and to overcome these obstacles.
Yeah, because you know, I could have won it, but whatever. I dropped the ball. Sorry, guys. You could go ahead. You could troll me and everything else, but Valle, I mean, I thank you. I mean, you've done a lot for the community. I'm grateful for it. Again, one of the things that I did when I got into the scene, I did my research so I could know who were the people before me. You know, same way when I played sports. You know, when I played baseball, I knew who Roof, Aaron, all the greats were. So I did the same thing in the FGC. And being able to interact with you and speak to you on the side and see how much you did for the scene, and you know, you still stood in it where others could have just like walked away. I'm very grateful for that, and I thank you for that. So, you know, final words, you know, where they could reach out to you, follow you on Twitter, let them know about Level Up and everything else. Go ahead, your time.
Well, before giving the shout out, I want to take a little bit back to you see all this as a business side. Don't think about the business side first, because I'll tell you straight out, for the first few years doing this, not receive a single dime, because it's putting our investments into like growing the scene. Growing the scene, giving it the utmost exposure should be your #1 priority first, because everything else will come into play with the right choices you make, the right people you have into your group. You know, the family is what we call it, right? That's why Larry's and Big E's and Adams, and they have a close knit group of people that work together, and we all come together, and even our crew. Do that first, everything will come into play, and then you can start thinking about the business side, because now, I mean, it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. But always a shout out to everybody that's followed our streams. You can catch me on Twitter, Alex Valle SF4, or the Level Up channel. It's twitch.tv/Level Up Live. Wednesday Night Fights every Wednesday, Third Run Back every Thursday, and Super Smash Sundays every Sunday. So.
And with it being the West Coast, I still stay up late sometimes to catch some streams, because I mean the West Coast has killers. You got the EG boys, you got up and coming players. Was it Mark Teddy with his guys? So I mean it's a great experience. Alex, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for
We
having
out.
me.